Happy anniversary, Crossroads. My name's Kevin O'Connor. My wife Carol and I live in Asheville, North Carolina. My road to Crossroads has been an interesting one. Carol was a charter member. She was at the very first service. In fact, she got a call saying that there's a new church starting somewhere in Oakdale. And Carol had been saying to me that we really did need to get our young daughters back to church. So she gets this call and said, there's this church that's starting somewhere in Imperial. It's going to be meeting at the Tonidale Hotel. And I'd like to go. And I said, by all means go, because I'm not going to. In 1986, my father died, and I'd bought into some bad theology, and I kind of ditched God at that point in time. But God had been doing something in my life. Carol had been going to Crossroads Church for a couple of years, and little did I know that she was, the small group that she was going to every Wednesday night, that her and her friends were praying for me there, that my eyes would be open again, that I would renew my relationship with Christ. Well, long about this time, Crossroads had decided that it was going to build its first building, so it started its Field of Dreams campaign. And Carol started bringing all this literature home. It kind of caught my attention, and I looked at some of this stuff and I said, this is interesting. And then she was telling me about some of the things that the people at Crossroads were willing to give up so that they could make this church grow, so that they could have a place where they could invite people who didn't know Jesus. My heart was grabbed by the willingness of a huge number of people in this place that were willing to put aside, big stuff like vacations and cars and additions to houses, people that were willing to sacrifice, not just for God, but they were willing to sacrifice for each other. And I was sold at that point. I figured, I have to check this out. I have to look into this. So I started showing up at church with Carol. I thought to myself, what if? I'd been searching and looking for something, and I wasn't content in my employment situation. I was good at what I did, but I hated every minute of doing it. And I found myself going from place to place to place, and I felt horrible, but I thought, what if God really is calling me to do something in full-time ministry? And then I thought, well, why would God use a man like me with my background and my past? How could he possibly do that? So he had a lot of work to do in my life. I sat down, had some conversations with Pastor Steve, and he mentored me through the process, and eventually in August of 1999, he asked me to come on board as the Director of Discipleship for Crossroads Church, and it was my first foray into vocational full-time ministry. God did not cease doing his work in me as I was here at Crossroads and involved as a staff member. He continued to grow me into the kind of man that would eventually go out and start new churches. In July of 2001, we put everything we owned in the back of a 26-foot truck, and we left everything we knew in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and moved to northern Wisconsin to start Northern Lakes Community Church.